Hi, this is Sally's Book Talk. Tune in daily for great books, bringing you the best reads from around the world. Today we're exploring The Emperor of All Maladies, a biography of cancer. This 526-page masterpiece contains over 230,000 Chinese characters. I'll spend about 30 minutes walking you through the key insights. First fundamental question: what exactly is cancer? Cancer remains one of the world's deadliest diseases, claiming millions of lives annually. What's truly alarming is how close cancer feels to all of us. In China, 6 people are diagnosed with malignant tumors every minute. 1 in 7 will die from cancer. Any of us could become cancer's prisoner, enduring physical or mental agony, even facing mortality. No one wants this fate for themselves or loved ones. We desperately need to understand cancer's origins. Can cancer be cured? Is cancer preventable? This urgency is magnified for those already battling cancer. The author recounts a patient's desperate cry: "I must understand the enemy I'm fighting," as ancient wisdom states. Know thy enemy to ensure victory. This educational mission drives the author's work. Siddhartha Mukherjee, Indian-American scientist educated at Stanford, Harvard, Oxford with PhD in cancer virology, currently developing anti-cancer drugs at Columbia University Medical Center. 6 years of research, synthesizing medical, cultural, and social perspectives on cancer's history. By tracing cancer's evolution, we better understand our adversary through historical context. Hailed as landmark scientific literature since its 2010 publication, winner of Pulitzer Prize and named among Time's 100 most influential books since 1923. Today's session focuses on 4 key aspects from this monumental work. First, what is cancer? Second, how do we treat cancer? Third, how to prevent cancer. Finally, what obstacles hinder humanity's fight against cancer? Let's begin with the first section. What is cancer? Mukherjee describes cancer as malignant proliferation of abnormal cells, normal cells gaining supercharged division through genetic mutations with failed death mechanisms causing uncontrolled growth that invades organs, destroys tissues, and ultimately proves fatal. Different cancers show varied symptoms and genetic mutations, but they all share these fundamental characteristics. Thus, cancer isn't a single disease, but a category. This is modern medicine's perspective. Reaching this conclusion took humanity over 4,000 years of arduous exploration. We divide this journey into 4 eras: germination, obscurity, rapid development, and modern understanding. First, the germination era. This period lacks definitive cancer records, only historical accounts of suspected cases, like the 22-5 BC case documented by Egyptian physician Imhotep, describing breast tumors, hard, cool masses resembling fruit, strikingly similar to modern breast cancer symptoms. Another record comes from Herodotus's Histories. Persian Queen Atossa suffered a bleeding breast mass resistant to treatments. She eventually allowed a Greek slave to excise the tumor, possibly cancer's first recorded surgical treatment. Late 20th century paleopathologists found definitive cancer evidence in mummies. The earliest case dates to 400 BC, humanity's first phase of cancer contact. Sparse records, no systematic study. This doesn't mean cancer is modern. Harsh environments and short lifespans meant people often died before cancer could develop. Some cancers might have been misdiagnosed as other illnesses, leaving no historical traces. As societies progressed and lifespans extended, cancer became increasingly prevalent. Humanity entered cancer's second Agnes Sagon. Second, the age of medical obscurity. This era saw preliminary cancer research emerge, but the dominant black bile theory was later disproven. Hippocrates, father of modern medicine, proposed 4 bodily humors: blood, yellow bile, phlegm, and black bile. He believed disease stemmed from humor imbalance. In 60 AD, Galen refined this theory, linking black bile excess to cancer. This black bile hypothesis dominated medicine for millennia. Bizarre treatments emerged using boar teeth, fox lungs, crab eyes, even goat feces as medicines. In 1530, Andreas Vesalius challenged this through anatomical studies, finding no black bile. 1793. Matthew Bailey's anatomical work finally disproved black bile theory completely. Third, the rapid development era. Cancer gained serious societal attention during this phase. Cancer research flourished with groundbreaking discoveries. Let's examine key breakthroughs from this period. 1845. Scottish physician John Bennett documented leukemia as blood suppuration. 1847. Rudolf Virchow disproved this, identifying cellular abnormalities. By 1902, building on Virchow's findings, a new theory began emerging. This theory proposed cancer cells spontaneously divide uncontrollably, overwhelming healthy tissues. Human understanding reached cellular level, laying modern oncology's foundation. Chromosome discoveries clarified cancer mechanisms, leading to new drugs like estrogen therapy and methotrexate. Radiation therapy became widespread, accelerating cancer understanding. These breakthroughs stemmed from societal prioritization of cancer research. Medical advances conquered plagues and tuberculosis, dramatically extending lifespans. U.S. life expectancy jumped from 47 to 68 years in early 20th century. And this unprecedented increase exposed cancer's prevalence, demanding attention. 1937, Fortune magazine's Cancer, the Great Darkness article galvanized research funding. National Cancer Institute's establishment and Mary Lasker's advocacy mobilized research funding. 1971's National Cancer Act unleashed unprecedented government funding. Despite progress, fragmented understanding hindered systemic breakthroughs. Some therapies worked empirically without mechanistic understanding. Temporary remissions often gave way to relapses. Cocktail therapies combining methods became standard without real progress. Scientists began pursuing alternative research paradigms. Thus, humanity entered cancer's fourth Agnisci the modern understanding era. Now defined as genetic disease, scientists decoded cancer's molecular mechanisms. Back in 1928, Columbia researchers noticed radiation caused fruit fly gene mutations. This discovery went overlooked until genetic focus reemerged 50 years later. 1092. Robert Weinberg isolated first proto-oncogene from cancer cells. This breakthrough ushered in modern cancer genetics era. Scientists realized each cancer's unique genetic signature dictates its behavior and vulnerabilities. Targeted therapies emerged with remarkable success rates. By 2005, 15% overall cancer mortality decrease, 24% breast cancer reduction, 80% pediatric leukemia cure rates. Computational advances enabled large-scale projects like Human Genome Project and Cancer Genome Atlas. Over 200 cancer-related genes identified, with more discoveries ongoing. That concludes our first section overview. We've established cancer isn't modern, but an ancient biological phenomenon. While recorded for millennia, true understanding only emerged in 20th century through cellular biology. Now let's explore part 2, cancer treatment. How do we treat cancer? 3 conventional approaches exist based on treatment principles. First, surgical tumor removal. Recall Queen Atosa's ancient breast tumor excision. Early surgeons avoided operations due to infection or anesthesia limitations. Tumor removal caused immense suffering and often accelerated death through infection. Late 19th century breakthroughs in antibiotics and anesthesia revolutionized surgery. Surgical tumor removal became standard cancer treatment. Fear of recurrence led to radical curative surgeries removing excessive tissue. Dr. William Halsted pioneered this approach through radical mastectomies. His procedures removed breasts, pectoral muscles, and lymph nodes, aiming for complete eradication. However, outcomes proved disappointing. For localized cancers, excessive removal caused unnecessary disability without benefits. For metastatic cases, complete removal remained impossible regardless of surgery scale. 1981 data conclusively disproved radical surgery's effectiveness. Statistics showed equivalent recurrence rates with less invasive approaches. This marked the end of radical surgery dominance. Modern surgery prioritizes precision and quality of life preservation. Second approach, radiation therapy using high-energy particles. Wilhelm Röntgen's 1895 X-ray discovery and Marie Curie's 1902 radium research enabled new treatments. Radiation damages cancer cell DNA through alpha or gamma rays, controlling proliferation. This birthed radiation oncology and atomic-era cancer treatments. Like surgery, radiation only effectively treats localized cancers. Metastatic cancers remain resistant to radiation therapy. Paradoxically, radiation itself can induce secondary cancers in healthy tissue. Thus, radiation therapy remains a double-edged sword. Third approach, chemotherapy, poisoning cancer cells with drugs. Since cancer cells derive from human cells, drugs often indiscriminately attack both malignant and healthy cells. Chemotherapy side effects include hair loss, vomiting, diarrhea, allergies, and leukopenia. 1970s cisplatin required IV hydration and cannabis use to control debilitating vomiting. Bleomycin causes pulmonary fibrosis when administered intravenously. Doxorubicin induces irreversible cardiotoxicity in patients. Etoposide derived from plant toxins risks liver dysfunction. Chemotherapy's duality, life-saving yet body-ravaging. Remarkable efficacy against leukemia, lymphoma, testicular cancer. 80% cure rate for pediatric ALL through chemotherapy protocols. Doctors cautiously balance chemotherapy's risks and benefits, now primarily used post-surgery to eliminate residual cells. Two emerging therapies complement traditional approaches: targeted therapy, precision strikes on cancer-specific genes. Abandoning universal cure fantasies for genetic reality, the modern approach developed gene-specific treatments through genomic profiling. Normal cells without mutated genes remain unaffected, minimizing side effects through precision targeting. 1986, Chinese scientist Zhenyi Wang discovered all trans-retinoic acid's remarkable efficacy against leukemia. This breakthrough demonstrated targeted therapy's revolutionary potential. Subsequent targeted drugs significantly improved specific cancer survival rates. But cancer cells' mutative nature enables drug resistance through secondary mutations. When target genes remutate, therapies lose effectiveness, causing relapses. Another approach, palliative care philosophy. Palliative meaning compromise, prioritizing comfort over cure. Focus shifts from eradicating cancer to managing symptoms and dignity, using painkillers and nerve blocks to improve quality of remaining life. Originating in medieval hospices, now 900-year evolving practice. 1967, Dame Cicely Saunders established modern hospice model at St. Christopher's. Growing medical acceptance of this compassionate approach, coexisting with cancer while preserving life quality, defines palliative care. Benefits include optimized medical resources and patient-centered care. Global adoption. Similar institutions emerged in US, Japan, Singapore, and China. Let's recap cancer treatment modalities. Conventional approaches: surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. Innovative methods: gene-targeted therapy and palliative coexistence. Yet, none truly conquer cancer. Incidence and mortality remain alarmingly high. Mukherjee writes, population-level disease reduction requires prevention. This remains medicine's only proven strategy. Medical consensus echoes, the best cancer treatment is never getting it. 1986, Harvard experts, John Baylor III and Elaine Smith, proposed shifting focus from treatment to prevention. This brings us to part 3, cancer prevention. Effective prevention requires understanding cancer's biological origins. Human DNA contains proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes. Cancer arises when mutations activate oncogenes and disable tumor suppressors. The author provides a vivid biological metaphor. Our cells function like cars, growth genes as accelerator, suppressor genes as brakes. Normal operation requires balance, Mutations jam the accelerator and disable brakes, causing catastrophic crashes. Thus, genetic mutations emerge as cancer's fundamental cause. Fortunately, mutations require rare sequential triggers to activate oncogenes. Tumor suppressors need two independent mutations to fail. Therefore, carrying cancer-related genes doesn't guarantee disease development. Only accumulated mutations crossing critical thresholds trigger malignancy. What causes these mutations? 5 recognized factors. First, random chance. Unsettling yet scientifically valid. Evolutionary biology shows most mutations occur spontaneously during cell division, rare stochastic events spanning millennia. While improbable, random mutations remain biologically inevitable. Second mutation factor, genetic predisposition, inherent susceptibility to specific mutations. Mutation causing genetic defects can be inherited across generations. Descendants with similar genetic makeup face elevated cancer risks. Third factor, viral infections. Indirect mutation triggers. Viruses introduce mutation-inducing genetic material into host cells. Howard Teman's 1970 discovery of reverse transcriptase in retroviruses. Fourth factor, radiation exposure. 1928, fruit fly experiments first demonstrated radiation's mutagenic effects. Paradoxically, radiation therapy itself can induce new mutations. Historical victims include radium dial painters and Marie Curie. Fifth factor, carcinogenic chemicals. Most significant contributor. Common carcinogens. Nicotine, aflatoxin, formaldehyde, melamine. Some promote mutation environments, others directly damage DNA. U.S. identifies 1,100 plus chemical carcinogens. 21 confirmed human-specific. 80 to 85% human cancers linked to carcinogen exposure. Chemical carcinogens represent the most controllable risk factor. Understanding these mechanisms enables effective prevention strategies. Medical community advocates two-tiered prevention approach. Primary prevention targets risk reduction. Secondary focuses early detection. Primary prevention reduces mutation risks, addressing controllable factors beyond genetics and chance. Focus remains on avoiding viruses, radiation, and carcinogens. First, minimize prolonged exposure to mutation-inducing environments. Examples: avoid newly renovated spaces and secondhand smoke. Consider occupational changes for radiation-exposed workers. Second, actively avoid known carcinogens. WHO categorizes carcinogens into 4 classes with detailed lists. Cross-reference food products against carcinogen databases. Avoid smoked foods, cigarettes, barbecued meats, and moldy ingredients. Third, maintain robust health through lifestyle choices. Chronic inflammation from poor health accelerates cancer risks. Example: chronic gastritis elevates stomach cancer risk by 3 to 6 times. Obesity links to multiple cancers through metabolic dysfunction. World Cancer Research Fund identifies 6 obesity-related cancers. Secondary prevention emphasizes early detection through screening. Early-stage cancers show 90% or more 5-year survival with proper treatment. 1963 landmark study. 62,000 women over 8 years demonstrated screening efficacy. Control group versus screening group showed dramatic mortality differences. Screened group, 31 breast cancer deaths versus 52 in control group. The control group had 52 deaths. Screening reduced mortality by approximately 40%. Breast and cervical cancer screenings are now well-established procedures. Genomic data integration enhances screening precision. Colon cancer can now be detected at precancerous stages through genetic screening. Advanced screening contributed to 15-year mortality decline in major cancers. Let's recap cancer's pathogenesis and prevention mechanisms. Cancer arises from genetic mutations, activated oncogenes, and disabled tumor suppressors. Mutation drivers: randomness, heredity, viruses, radiation, carcinogens. 5 key factors influencing genetic instability. Primary prevention minimizes mutation risks. Secondary prevention emphasizes early detection. Both individuals and societies crave better cancer solutions, but real-world implementation faces complex challenges. Let's examine final section, obstacles in cancer warfare. We'll analyze 4 dimensions: societal, commercial, cultural, political. First societal hurdle: resource scarcity. Limited resources force difficult research prioritization. Even with ample funding, cancer's diversity challenges allocation. Rare cancers, few thousand cases globally, struggle for funding. Cost-benefit analyses often sacrifice rare cancer research. Funding naturally flows to high-incidence cancers. Political intervention. Nixon's 1971 National Cancer Act increased funding but reduced autonomy. Government-scientist budget disagreements often create inefficiencies and complications. Second obstacle: corporate interference in cancer prevention efforts. Cancer research breakthroughs sometimes threaten vested interests. The author dedicates quarter of the book to U.S. tobacco industry battles. 1761. English apothecary John Hill linked snuff to oral cancers, yet tobacco use proliferated. 1948 medical consensus reaffirmed smoking cancer connection. Tobacco companies formed research committees to discredit findings while hiding nicotine's dangers. They suppressed internal research, proving nicotine's carcinogenicity, actively obstructing scientific progress. 1998 Master Settlement Agreement forced U.S. tobacco concessions. Decades of corporate obstruction caused preventable lung cancer deaths and research delays. Tobacco firms shifted marketing to developing nations, exporting cancer epidemics. Third obstacle: cultural traditions enduring influence. Cultural norms become ingrained from birth, shaping health behaviors. Many struggle to reconcile scientific evidence with cultural practices. 195-51 study. 36 out of 789 smokers died of lung cancer. Yet cultural attachment persisted. Despite medical warnings, cultural conditioning maintains smoking habits. Cultural perceptions imbue smoking with symbolic meanings. For men, smoking symbolizes masculinity. Women may view it as rebellion against tradition. Teens associated with desired maturity. These cultural codes fuel tobacco addiction while undermining cancer prevention efforts. Fourth political challenge: ethical dilemmas in medical research. Medical advancement requires extensive human experimentation. Historical example: Sidney Farber's leukemia trials on children with minimal consent. Parents received vague explanations. Children remained completely uninformed, unacceptable by modern standards. Current protocols require rigorous ethics approvals and informed consent. Patient privacy rights and data protection laws complicate research. While ethically necessary, these safeguards slow research progress. 4 main obstacles. 1. Resource limitations. 2. Corporate interference. 3. Cultural traditions. 4. Ethical constraints. This concludes our exploration of the Emperor of All Maladies. Let's recap today's key content. We traced humanity's understanding of cancer, from ancient observations to modern genetic comprehension. Current research defines cancer as malignant cellular proliferation. Treatment options now include surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, targeted therapy, and palliative care. However, access barriers persist due to cost and resource allocation. This reality underscores prevention's critical importance. Avoiding radiation and carcinogens remains crucial among cancer-causing mutagens. Regular screenings effectively reduce mortality despite uncontrollable genetic or random factors. Societal anti-cancer efforts face multifaceted efficiency challenges in eradication pursuits. The path to conquering cancer remains arduous. Now, understanding cancer's formidable nature through our exploration, cancer research still resides in its nascent stages scientifically. 4 millennia later, cancer remains unconquered, yet human dignity persists in noble struggle, as Tennyson's Ulysses proclaims, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. This concludes today's program. Full transcripts are available below. Congratulations on completing another book. Until tomorrow,